Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much, but I'm back home, back to the regular scheduled program with these pre-market preps at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of things to go over. Kind of recapping what we went through this week. We basically had a really crazy week in the overall markets with red folder news. We also had let me see if my stream is working. Hopefully it's working. We had red folder news, we had FOMC, we had earnings, we had a bunch of things. The overall markets now, in my opinion, at least on the higher time frames, first sign of kind of bearish price action was yesterday. We actually broke if you're on the daily time frame bar by bar, that was the first day where we showed a little bit more bearish price action this whole run towards the upside. So we'll talk about this here in a second as well. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Before we get into the charts, good morning. What's up, everyone? What's up, Ricardo, Jeff, Benjamin? What's up, Darth, KO, Nantali? What's up, Audrey, Robert, Ryan, Crisp? Good morning, Eileen, Charles, Luis, Raven, Joseph. What's up, Daniela, Fan, Wan? What's up, Pitt, Uther? Yeah, what's up, everyone? Good morning. What's up, Owen, Monty, Jen, Benjamin, Wilbert, Luis? Good morning. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Okay, let's hop right into the charts. There's actually a bunch of things that we should go over today. First things first, let's kind of do a deep dive on what we had this week, especially with all the red folder news events and the earnings that we've had. They're actually, most of them are out of the way now. But as you can see, really coming to this week, we had a lot of red folder news events in the market. Jolt's opening on Tuesday. Wednesday was the main one with FOMC, right? That was key, FOMC along with FOMC statement. And then we also had major earnings, which was Meta along with Microsoft. And then Thursday, as you can see, we had some core PCE along with unemployment at 8:30. And then coming into today, we do have non-farm enrollment that is going to be at 8:30. And then at 10 a.m. as well, we have ISM along with revised consumer sentiment. So lots of red folder news. We still have some more here today at 8:30 along with 10 a.m. As for the earnings, basically all the major earnings are over now, but on Wednesday this was very key. I mentioned this on the weekly outlook. We had Meta and Microsoft. You can see this moved the market up quite a bit. And then yesterday after close, we had Apple and Amazon. Apple basically left unchanged. We'll take a look at Amazon here in a second as well. So that's for the red folder news along with kind of the earnings that we do have. Let's go on to the charts to see exactly what we're looking for. So first things first, let's talk about the overall daily chart since we haven't looked at this chart in about, how long has it been? It's actually been a while. I think it's been about a week and a bit, but yeah, glad to be back. So for the ES, you can see technically, if we look at the ES or the NQ, this was the first bearish day in my opinion, which was yesterday, right? Every single day leading up into yesterday, I've been bullish. I've been looking for major dips for continuation towards the upside. This is the first sign of loss of momentum. So if we're looking at the daily chart, just based off the NQ, I don't even have to look at key levels. If we're bar by barring this daily time frame, you can see that every single daily candle close has closed above its previous day's close. So you can see every single daily candle, right, closing above its previous day close. We can just bar by bar. Yesterday was the first day where we had a candle close that's underneath its previous candle. So this is a sign of loss of momentum here now on the daily chart. And we can expect a little bit more, either a bigger pullback here on the higher time frames or a little bit more consolidation. But the higher time frames now are slowing down, and we expect it now to come back down into potential key levels. So if we're looking at the NQ, the key levels that I have marked out coming into today, let's go on to the 1 hour chart. Some of the levels I have marked out is number one, this level all the way from July the 22nd and multiple touches as you can see right here. So on the higher time frames, what I have marked out is basically this 23,100. That is the key level here on the 1 hour chart. We can actually go into the 4 hour chart here as well. But you can see a little bit of a steeper pullback from yesterday. This was the gap up that we had due to earnings. with FOMC as well, but immediately sold off. So we had bullish earnings, which was Microsoft and Meta. You can see these names are up about 11% along with 4%. You can see Microsoft up huge, Meta up huge, and the fact that the NASDAQ is down on the day is a sign that we're most likely going to slow down here on the higher time frame. So for the NQ, you can see a really big push towards the downside yesterday and here in the pre-market as well. This is our level of support. But now I'm not much interested as to buy dips for at least a push back up and towards highs. As you can see here, right, the market structure was still intact. So buying these dips was a lot easier, expecting it to gravitate back up and towards, right, your all-time highs. Every single dip got bottomed up. In this case now, with this bigger retracement, right, we can't expect this to, right, push back up and towards your all-time highs, right, like a V shape. We can't expect a little bit of buyers, but the key levels now, you'd just be looking for a day trade back up and towards your next key level since we have broken structure. So for the NQ here on the 4-hour time frame, what I would like to see is buyers step in off this 23,100. If you can get some buyers to step in, we can see a potential push back up and towards your previous day close, 23,300. Overall, in the higher time frames, if we consolidate, get underneath this key level, which is going to be this 23,100, potentially we can see a bigger retracement down in towards the 22,800 here on the higher time frame. So that's going to be key. This level coming into today, we could also mark out other levels, which is going to be all the way down in towards that 22,800 here on the higher time frames. If you go into lower time frames for the NQ, similar thing, right? We're gapping down. We're well now underneath your previous day lows. What we're going to mark out here is just higher time frame key level. If we can maintain this, potentially we can see this reversal back up in towards that 23,100. As I mentioned, if we consolidate in this general area, potentially break underneath your 23,100, there's a possibility we could see your 22,800 here on the higher time frames. If we look at the QQQ, similar thesis here. If we go into the 1-hour chart, the level that I'd really like to see hold now for the Qs is we have actually a couple key levels. We have our 556. We also have this 559, and then we're going to mark all the way down here, which is going to be this 552. So let's actually mark out these levels as I speak. You can mark this out. We can also mark this out as well. And then for this one, we can just change this color. So for the QQQ coming into today, what I personally like to see is it maintain above our 557. If we can maintain above this 557, reclaim back above this 559, we can see this push back up in towards the 564 previous day close. Only way I'm interested in a little bit more downside, consolidation, potential break underneath. Now it's going to be this pre-market low. Underneath your 557, we can see your 552. This will come fairly quick, so we have to be cautious. If you can get underneath this 557, I'll be interested in a push down in towards the next key level below 552 here on the higher time frames. If you go into now the 15-minute chart, similar game plan coming into today. It's now going to be the break back above our 560, break above back above 560. We can see your previous day close 564. If we consolidate, we could be looking for kind of the potential rejection and a push down in towards your pre-market lows. If you can get underneath your pre-market lows, potential all the way down in towards that 552. So that's for the NQ. For the ES, similar thing here for the ES, as you can see, a little bit of rejections off of your highs that we created earlier this week. Plus, with a bunch of news and other things, you can see first day where we're showing a little bit more bearish price action here on the daily time frame as well. If you're looking at this on the daily chart, you can see now a pretty big volume candle. If I actually pull up the volume here as well, a lot of the times the biggest reversals will occur when we have the highest volume. So let me actually pull up this chart. So as you can see right here for the SPY, right, huge volume day yesterday. You can see majority of the volume is in this general area, but you can see definitely an outlier day yesterday with earnings and other news as well, where we have a lot of volume. So you can see big down close candle with a bunch of volume. This is a good indication that the market is going to slow down here. So now if you are looking to buy dips, you have to be cautious because the overall market now is flipping, right? It's more neutral. I wouldn't say it's still bullish here on the higher time frames, but at least the momentum on the daily chart is slowing down. So if we look at the ES key levels that we have coming into today, is our 63.30. This is the level we actually started breaking underneath here in the pre-market. So yesterday, we ended up getting underneath key levels, which was our 63.70. Now we're underneath key levels here in the pre-market as well. So what I'd like to see is if it wants to stay heavy, it has to hold underneath the 63.30 for a potential continuation down in towards that 62.60. If we want to look for a potential reclaim, what I would like to see now is reclaim back above the 63.30 for a push back up in towards your previous day close, which is going to be the 63.70. So if we look at the SPY key levels that we have marked out on this name, now we can mark out even more levels towards the downside, which is going to be down in towards that that 620. So for the SPY key levels coming into today that I have marked out is really the 627. And then we have your previous day close, 630, and then all the way down in towards that 620. So for the SPY coming into today, what I'd like to see is the reaction that we have off this 626. If we can show some strong buyers right off the bat, there's a potential we can come back up and towards that previous day close, 630. If we stay heavy and the market wants to short most pops, then we could be looking for the break back underneath key levels. In this case, now it's going to be that 626 for a potential push down in towards your pre-market lows and below. So for the SPY and Qs, that's basically an overview on the higher time frames of what we're looking for. A little bit weaker price action now just based off of yesterday's, but we'll keep an eye out now. It's going to be your previous day close, and we can mark out some of these pre-market levels here as well. So let's go on to some of the tech names that we do have coming into this week. Let's first start off on Tesla. So Tesla had earnings last week. You can see a lot more consolidation here on the higher time frames. You can see we're just building up liquidity to both sides still. So as you can see, right, markets liquidity being built up towards the upside along with the downside here as well. What I'd like to see now is really break below the trend line or break above the trend line with a strong candle close for a potential continuation in either way. So if you go into lower time frames, not too much to talk about on this name, a lot more consolidation after earnings. But for Tesla now, key levels that I have marked out, low of the range, 302. We have other key levels here as well, which is going to be this 308, and then really all the way back up and towards your 320. So for Tesla, if you want to see some more continuation, potential mean reversion, reclaim back above this 308 for a push back up and towards this 314 and above. Only way I'm interested in a little bit more downside here on Tesla, number one, has to reject this 308. Preferably, we like to see it underneath this 302, which is going to be underneath this earnings key level, along with underneath your pre-market lows as well. So we'll keep an eye out on Tesla reaction off of your 307 coming into today. As for a few other tickers that I'm interested in, so you can see the semis just recently came off of an all-time highs push. Kind of this blow off the top move. So for Nvidia, you can see really nice push towards the upside, but immediately selling off now after this big gap on the higher time frames. As I mentioned, a big volume day on a lot of these tickers yesterday. But for Nvidia, higher time frame, still fairly bullish here. What I would like to see now is the reclaim if you want to be looking for a continuation or a potential mean reversion. So key levels for me is going to be this 175.20. If we're able to reclaim back above this level, I'm interested for a push back up and towards this 177, potentially this 179 here on Nvidia. The only way I'm interested in downside is if it rejects, stays heavy underneath this 175.20 for this continuation, potentially back towards the downside. So key levels is going to be your previous day lows, and we have multiple touches from Tuesday along with Monday here as well. If we're looking at other semiconductors, AMD. So as you can see, AMD gapping down just a little bit here, down around 3%. So key levels for AMD is our 175. And now all the way back towards the downside, we have our 166. And we have our Monday's lows, which is our 169. So if we go into the lower time frames here for AMD coming into today, you can see this is our Monday's lows here on AMD. What I personally like to see is really hold this 168.90s for a potential push back up and towards your previous day close 175. So that's going to be the most likely the best trading opportunity on AMD coming into today. Only way I'm interested in more shorting opportunities is either the push all the way back up and towards this 175 rejection, or now it would most likely be underneath your pre-market lows, underneath your Monday's lows here as well for this continued push towards the downside. This, in my opinion, is going to be a little bit more trickier just because we have key levels of support all the way down at this 167. So really shorts for me on AMD, I'm not too interested in unless we get like a solid intraday setup, but key levels, previous day lows along with this 168. As for Microsoft, this one had earnings on Wednesday, really solid push towards the upside. Day number one, kind of mean reversion, 50% retracement here on this name. So key levels that we're going to mark out on Microsoft, and now is just going to be your previous day lows. So we can mark this out, and then really your previous day high. So for Microsoft, this one, in my opinion, is going to be a little bit more trickier to trade just because we had a big, nice earnings push. Now we're just in the middle of this earnings range. So what you like to see is really the reaction around your middle, in this case, your previous day lows here as well. So what you'd be interested in, potential bounce off of your previous day lows 532. If you're looking for more downside underneath your 532, retest continuation back towards the downside is key. So 532 is going to be key here for Microsoft. As for Apple, this one just had earnings, just a lot more consolidation on this name. Really not too much to talk about here. If we're looking at this on the 1 hour chart, I think this really describes what Apple's been doing. As you can see right here, just a lot more consolidation. So key high 216. If we're marking out your key low 208, a lot of consolidation here. We have not been able to break above this high or break below this low, which is just the range that we have established for Apple. Even the earnings, you can see rejection off of your low, rejection off of your high. What we like to see is really now, as I mentioned, break above your 216 or break below this 207. In between this level, this is something you do not want to trade. You just want to be trading the break above your 216 or the break below this 207. So Apple, we'll just have alert set, and we won't talk about this until we're able to have a daily candle close, until we're able to break outside of this consolidation. As for Meta, so Meta, this is the one that is holding up. If we're looking at this on the higher time frame here as well, nice push towards the upside. This cup and handle is what I've been talking about for a while now. This ended up happening with earnings here, but nice push towards the upside. Now let's see if we can have continuation on this name. So for Meta, this is the one where so far not selling off after this big gap up towards the highs. Key level is going to be this 770. So what we're going to have marked out 770. If you want to see some more upside, reclaim back above your 770. I'd actually be interested in this one for a push back up and towards your all-time highs and above. If we're able to reclaim back above this level, if it rejects off your 770, potential push back down in towards your pre-market lows here and below. But I personally like to see reclaim, higher time frame, still fairly bullish. So I'd like to see reclaim, retest, and then we see this push back towards the upside. As for Amazon, this one also did have news here as well. It had earnings in the after hours. So key levels that we can have marked out in this case is our 235. And if we zoom out here now, it's all the way back down in towards that 220, 218, and then 215. So down about 8% here on Amazon. Next levels towards the downside, if it does want to gravitate even lower, is going to be down in towards that 208. So for Amazon, this one, big drop due to earnings. Now the key level that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 214. So this was potential kind of day one earnings play towards the downside. But if we are interested, what we need is an IV flush. So for Amazon, potential kind of pop and fade off this 218. Sorry, this 218 is in play here towards the downside. Another potential play, break underneath your 214, but that would be a lot more aggressive. I'd be much more interested in the pop and fade off this 218 down in towards your pre-market lows 214 and potentially your 208 here on the higher time frame. So that's what I have for Amazon. As for Google, let's kind of zoom out here as well. So Google had earnings last week, just kind of going from your earnings high all the way down in towards your earnings low. So that's going to be the next logical level here on on Google, is down in towards that 187. I like to see buyers kind of step in off that 187 low, but that's really key. Now, other levels that we have marked out, 192, we can also mark out that level here as well. And then for Netflix, let's go into the higher time frames. Netflix is actually one of the weaker tickers. You can see it's started to show weakness all the way back from July of last, I guess, brand new month here as well. So last month, July, that's when it started dropping, whereas the overall market's still continuing higher. So relative weakness, at least in the past 20 to 40 sessions. In this case for Netflix now, this one to me looks like it can push all the way back down in towards your 1100 here on the higher time frame. So if Netflix cannot get buyers to step in, next logical level underneath your 1150 is going to be this 1100. So a potential 50-point drop if you can break underneath this 1100 here on the higher time frame. So this is the level we can have marked out. And the key levels coming into today, as I mentioned, now is going to be your previous day lows. And then we can also mark out this 1100 here on the higher time frames. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, if you guys do have any charts, you guys can drop them in the chat, or any charts or tickers you'd like me to go over. We do have some red folder news here in about 10 minutes, so we'll most likely just wait for that before we develop our game plan coming into today. If you guys are new here, appreciate it if you guys drop me a like. Also, we have a free watch list in the description below. So if you guys want to join that, you guys can as well. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Let me read the chat here as well. Good morning. We miss you. Miss you guys too. Let's see. All right. First time catching the stream, still learning the basic options, but wanted to hop on. Nice. Welcome, Raven. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Okay. Alrighty. So what if NQ breaks above the 5-minute opening range and retest, but the price is bearish on the higher time frames? Would you take it long? So that's a good question. So that would basically be looking for an intraday relative strength setup or intraday setup while the higher time frame is bearish. It's really more context based, but if the market does want to push back higher, we have this gap fill back towards the upside. So I'm not opposed to trading back towards the highs just because we do have this gap fill. So if the market wants to maintain above this 526, I can see this push potentially back up in towards 630 and maybe this 632 if buyers want to step in right off the bat. If we end up rejecting off this level and showing some more weakness, then potentially we can see some more downside here underneath their pre-market lows and below. All right, let me go over some charts. As always, if you guys do have any charts or tickers, you guys can drop them in the chat. Let's go over coin. So yeah, coin had earnings, a little bit of rejections off of all-time highs, which was expected. Let me just remove all these lines here on the chart. But coin, as you can see, a little bit of rejections, 430 here on the higher time frames, which was expected after having this really solid push towards your all-time highs. That was definitely an area where most people are looking to take profits off of. As for the level where you like to see now coin bounce off of is really this exact level, which is your 340 here on the higher time frame. So at least on the higher time frames, you can see a little bit of a pullback now right into key levels of support, 340 on the higher time frames. What I personally like to see is this higher time frame now, hold and break and retest off of your 340. I like to see really the buyer step in right off your 340, and then potentially we can see this next leg back up and towards the highs. But for coin, now coming into today, we can mark out your 340, and then we can also mark out your earnings key level, which is going to be this 345. Has to reclaim back above this level. Most likely, if it does show a little bit more weakness, you can see this push back down in towards that 335 here on coin. As for IWM, just not able to break back above key levels here as well. Let me remove some of these. So for IWM, key level that we have marked out is our 226. Just not able to break above this key level here on the higher time frames. just a lot more consolidation here on the daily chart as well. So as you can see, consolidation on IWM looks like it's trying to break underneath your low of the range now, which is this 218. So for IWM, key levels underneath your 218 is going to be down in towards this 215 here on the higher time frames. If you can reclaim back above your 218, potential push back up in towards this 219. So key level today is just going to be this 218 key pivot level. We can now also mark out your pre-market levels here as well. So a lot of times I won't be using pre-market levels, but in this case, since this is the most relevant levels that we have marked out on a chart and we are fairly far away from your previous day lows, we're going to have to mark out pre-market levels here. As for hood, a little bit of slowing down here as well. Key levels that we have marked out is this 108. As for hood, key levels that we're going to have marked out now is going to be this 98. So we can mark out this. And then we also have levels really all the way back down in towards 90 here on the higher time frame. So now I'm only interested in looking for the reclaims. So if we're looking for a potential pushback towards the upside, what I would like to see is reclaims back above key levels. It's much better to look for strength, reclaiming back above. In this case, it's going to be your 99 key seg for a pushback up in towards your previous day lows. If it rejects off this level, right, you can see this pushback down in towards your pre-market lows, and then all the way back down in towards that 94 and the next level, which is 90 here on the higher time frames. UNH, this one's showing weakness on the higher time frames. Don't look to buy the dip on UNH. Key levels all the way down in towards now. It is your 247. So 247, we actually just hit in the pre-market. So now you can see a little bit of buyers stepping in off this 247, but this is going to be key here on the higher time frames. If we can maintain above your 247, potential mean reversion back up in towards that 260. If we continue to show weakness, more downside is possible underneath that 247 key level. As for roadblocks, this one continuing to show strength, all-time highs. This one are actually very close to all-time highs. I actually just hit it with earnings. So roadblocks, we hit our all-time highs yesterday with earnings. Now you can see we actually have a pretty big gap back towards the downside, but key levels we're going to have marked out is going to be this 135. So for roadblocks, if you want to see some more upside, reclaim a back above your 136 is going to be key for a potential continue push higher. If we reject off of your previous day lows, we have a potential to come all the way back down in towards that 126 here on the higher time frames. All right, as for Palantir as well, a lot more consolidation. Key levels now is going to be this 155 here on the higher time frames, along with the top of the range, 160. I personally like just to see buyers step in off this 155 and push back up in towards your 157 here and above. If we're able to hold above your 155, mean reversion is in play. Only way we see some more downside is if we can consolidate, break underneath, retest off of your 155.50 for this pushback down in towards. Now it's going to be this 153 here and below. All right, we do have some red folder news in about a minute. How do I feel about the Figma IPO? Yeah, this one they actually did a really good job. You can see pushing up nicely in the after hours. Let's see currently what it's doing in the pre-market. So for Figma now, you can see IPO'd. I think you're able to buy some shares even at like 30. I think that was the original IPO price, 33, and now it's already at it's already at 136. So for Figma now, key levels, you're just going to mark out your pre-market levels, which is your previous day highs, 122.50. This is the level you like to see maintain. You can also draw your pre-market levels here as well. So for Figma, as long as it maintains above your 122.50, which is your previous day highs, or you like to see, right, kind of this push up in towards your after hours highs here as well for this continued pushback towards the upside. All right, let me scroll down here. We do have some news in about 10 seconds here. I'm definitely new. First time catching your stream. What are your thoughts on Open Door? I'll take a look at that in a bit. Glad you're back. I've been watching your pre-market preps every morning before I head out to go trade, really been helping me develop deeper perspective. I plan on going part-time next year and trading with you. Awesome. Glad to hear that, Sean. Spotify is probably the most volatile. Check those out as well. Okay. All right, the market, we do have some red folder news in the overall market. So as you can see here, we just had some numbers that came out. Let me pull this back up here as well. Okay, so we just had non-farm enrollment for the average hourly earnings. I don't really look at this one. The main one here is your unemployment plus non-farm enrollment. As you can see, it came in lower than expected. Actual 73K, whereas the forecasted was 106. Overall market dropping a little bit towards the downside here after already having a big push lower. I don't really expect too much continuation lower. We'll see the overall market. It is staying heavy so far. But the key levels, as I mentioned, now is going to be this 560. If we maintain underneath this 560, potential push down in towards your pre-market lows here and below. If we can reclaim this 560, we could see this push back up and towards your 564. As for the SPY, similar thing here. Key level is going to be this 526. If we can get back above, hold your 526, we can see a push back up and towards your 530 and potentially this 531. If we end up consolidating in this general area, getting underneath, then we could see this push back down in towards your pre-market lows here and below. All right, so the game plan coming into today and the top watches that I'm interested in. So the overall market now, as I mentioned, is slowing down here on the higher time frame. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious and now more open to playing both sides. Really, I haven't looked for a short position or puts in a few months. I haven't traded down towards the short side because there really hasn't been too much opportunity. But now with the markets flipping, at least the momentum slowing down, I'm going to be more interested and open to playing both sides here on the overall market. So for some names that I am interested in today, we're going to keep an eye out on NVIDIA. I'm also going to just color code it now here as well. So NVIDIA, this one, still fairly bullish here on the higher time frames. I'm going to look for the reaction off of this 175. I'll be interested in looking for a potential kind of short off this 175 for a push down in towards your pre-market below, pre-market low and below. If it rejects off this level, if we're able to reclaim, I wouldn't be opposed to looking for kind of the base and break back above your 175 for a pushback in towards your previous day close. So we'll keep an eye out on the major semiconductors. As for AMD, similar thing here as well, right at your Monday's lows. I'm actually interested in this one for potential kind of base off of your 169 for a potential push back up and towards this 175. AMD, I'm not too interested in looking for a short just because there's not too much room. We could be looking for this kind of if price does get underneath this 169, there's a little bit of room down towards this 167, but there is not that much room, so I'm not as interested. I'd be much rather be looking for this gap fill back towards the high, so we'll keep an eye out on AMD as well. As for Tesla, this one is more bearish here on the higher time frame, so I will be interested. I'm leaning a little bit more towards the downside just based off of this week's price action. As you can see, we did just bounce off of your key low, which is your 302. But for Tesla, potential kind of fade off of your 308. I personally like to see it really underneath your 302 for more continuation towards the downside. So we'll keep an eye out on Tesla if it does want to show some more weakness. If it reclaims your 307, then shorts really are off the table, at least for today here on Tesla. And then for Apple, not looking at this one. Microsoft, not too interested in this one just based off of yesterday's price action. I am interested in Meta here if we can reclaim back above this 770. So this is basically your after hours earnings key level, which we had that original pop. This is also your previous day low key level here as well. So reclaim back above your 770. I'm interested in for a push back up and towards your 785. So Meta, I'm only really interested in upside. As for Amazon, we can potentially keep an eye out on your first pop to short back down in towards your in towards your 219. So this would be your IV flush. We could be looking for the pop and fade off of your 219 for this push down in towards your 215 here and below. So for downside, I'd be more interested in potentially Tesla if it rejects off of your 307, and Amazon if it wants to have a pop and fade after earnings. As for upside, if NVIDIA can reclaim back above your 175, and if Meta can reclaim back above this 770 here on the higher time frames. Okay, let me go over a few more tickers. I'll go kind of 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to get ready for market open. Let me scroll back up here as well. APLD. So APLD, nice kind of pop back towards the highs. Now the key level, you can see it's trying to get faded, but key level now you like to see hold is really this level right here, which is going to be this 12 key psych. So this is your old high marked out. Now you like to see this level be used as support for this continuation back towards the upside. If we reject off this level, there's about a couple 2-point move towards the downside if we're not able to hold this 12 key psych on APLD. ASML. How do you play 0 days on SPY? I personally, if I'm trading the major indices, I'm going to look for futures contracts, but it's basically the same thing. It's more momentum. You have to be a little bit more cautious if you are playing 0 days. If you look at ASML here, this one pushing towards the downside now, key levels is really all the way back down in towards this pop that we had originally from April of earlier this year. So higher timeframes wise, you really like to see this level hold for any sort of potential bounce back up and towards the highs. If we do break underneath, there is potential we could see some more continuation lower. As for Spotify, this one had earnings recently dropping towards the downside. Key levels that we have marked out is our 653, and now we can also have marked out our earnings low. So for Spotify, you can see drop towards the downside. Now we're underneath really key levels, which is going to be this 620. So if you want to see some more continuation coming into today here on Spotify, underneath your 620 for more continuation lower. If we're able to now hold, you can see this push back up and towards now it's going to be this 624. But overall, higher time frame bearish after earnings. First pop got shorted here as well. You're going to keep an eye out on the reaction that we have off of this level, which is going to be this 615. We can actually refine it even more. It's going to be this 616 here on Spotify. Let me scroll down here. How do you decide what levels to mark out? Is always previous day. Yeah, it's always previous day highs, previous day lows, always old highs and old lows here on the higher time frames. Since AMD has retested, why would you expect the price to still rise till 185 in order to short? Because if you're looking at AMD, it's just risk to reward, right? AMD obviously now showing a little bit more weakness, but it's coming right back into key levels of support, which is your Monday's lows. So there's really not too much room to short on AMD, at least right off the bat, unless we can really now get underneath this 167. I'm only interested if we can get underneath this 167, maybe later into the session, we can see a push down in towards your 169. We can see a push down in towards your 167 and below. But for right off the bat, right, there's a possibility that we could just pop right into your 173 and potentially your previous day close here. Buyers could definitely step in off the Monday's low since the higher time frame is still bullish here. No video this week. Yeah, I was been busy. So the video, I'm gonna change my schedule. But now for my YouTube videos, they're gonna come out on Saturday. I'm gonna most likely release them on Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of Wednesday now. Just to make it nice and easy, it's gonna be on the weekend as well. So I'm just gonna have it on Saturday. Let me scroll down here as well. Drawing levels, pretty simple entry. Exactly. So the drawing levels is fairly easy. The harder part is managing risk, right? The logic and thesis on why the trades work and what levels to actually use and what levels to avoid. That's what takes a while to get used to. And that's why I do these pre-market preps is to build that logic and thesis. The actual drawing of levels in itself, they're always just old highs and old lows. Let's see. Thanks for all the info. Just because your video's been able to refine my opening range strategy, and now I've been profitable last week. Nice. Glad to hear that. Okay. Let's see. Google AVGO. Yeah, AVGO, you can see a little bit of a bigger day here as well, but now it's coming right back in towards key levels. 288. What we like to see now, if we can reclaim back above 288, we can see this push back up and towards. Now it's going to be this 292. If we reject off this level, then potentially we can see right pre-market lows, which is now going to be this 282 here on the higher time frames. Let's see. Should take your system down. Prices you gave away for free. Yeah, the system in itself, because everyone can learn the system, right? But that doesn't mean it's just because you have the correct system, right? There's more things that go into it with the risk management, right? How to develop a thesis and bias, right? The break and retest in itself is fairly simple just because I can mark it out on a chart. All it is just break above a key level, retest continuation. But there's more things that go into it, right? We have a bunch of setups within the system, and then it's really developing the logic and thesis on why it works. All right. Okay, how was Dubai? It was good. The weather was crazy hot, which was unfortunate, but it was a good time. There will be information when you enter my homepage as my friend. Let's see. Reduced losses. I want to join your Discord. Just want to know the amount of shows in CAD. It's in USD. DDOG. Can I make 10? Okay. Okay, let's go on to the higher time frames. So yeah, so far you can see a little bit of buyer stepping in here after having this big push towards the downside. So we'll keep an eye out now. It's going to be your opening candle range high. So as you can see here for SPY, the key level is just going to be this opening range high along with this 626. If we can hold above now, it's going to be the 626.50, potential push back up and towards your 630. Similar thing here on the QQQ. If you can now break back above, hold above your opening range, we can see this push back up and towards this 564 is in play. So this is right here. This is what we have on SPY and Qs. As for the overall markets and indices, Tesla, what we have here is 307. That's going to be key. As for NVIDIA, 175.50. Meta, the key level that we have is going to be the 771. And then for Amazon, what we have is this 219 here on the higher time frame. So I'm interested for the semiconductors for potential reclaim along with Meta. As for Tesla, we'll keep an eye on this 307. And then for Amazon, we will have the reaction, which will be a potential pop and fade off of this 218 here on the higher time frame. So that's what we have here. As for the, what else do we have? Yeah, so that's it. It's a Friday, so the pre-market preps are back to the regular schedule program coming into next week. So we'll have these pre-market preps every single day at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys did enjoy that, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like. If you guys want to join the free watch list, that is in the description below as well. I'm going to get ready for market open here, and I will see you guys all next week. All right, take care, everyone. Hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. Peace.